there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham, the Friday lunch hour, deadline day, the merry-go-round and stress that is deadline day. I mean, it's not that much stress because we're not doing anything, so there's not really that much to talk about. But I'm joined by Hass from A View from the South Stand. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, to be honest. I'm doing a spot of painting today, trying to get, transfer deadline day out of my mind, but it's impossible, obviously. Yeah. So much stuff going on today, but yeah, good to be on the show again, Chris. Happy to be here.
Absolute pleasure having you back on as always. And if you don't know where A View from the South Stand is, obviously you don't have YouTube or you don't pay attention to it, but it is in the description, and Hass will let you know what you can expect on the channel a bit later on at the end as well. For everyone watching, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. Also, get your comments in, questions in. Interesting to know what you think on deadline day, who we're going to buy, who we're going to sell, if anything is going to happen. But leading on to that, Hass, we'll talk about it. Brennan Johnson is the big that should happen at the moment. All the talks from everybody is that's getting close. Conor Gallagher is one out of left field.
Yeah.
Still no defenders, although I can't remember his name from Bournemouth. I can't remember his name. Is it Lewis someone? Anyway.
It's Lloyd Kelly.
That's him.
Yeah, I'm just looking him
I
up.
had an L and an E in there, so it wasn't far off. But yeah, that's come out of left field. Going out. Region has joined United on loan. Scarlett, which is a good move, has gone on loan to Ipswich, get first team football. Tanganga, I think, to Augsburg. And Hojberg potentially to Fulham because their midfielder, Polina, is going to Bayern Munich. But I mean, we were saying off air, we're not really doing that much, but it's no surprise to me anymore. So I've just come to it's just what it is. Do you think we'll get anyone in? If so, who? Do you think we'll get rid of anybody? If so, who? And will they be for loans or money?
Well, first of all, I'd really like to see some players coming out of the club. Everyone knows we're just too oversaturated at the moment in terms of players still at the club. Just before I get on to if I think anyone's going to come in, I think we had a bid come in for Davies and Sanchez from Rennes, which was rejected by the club, somewhere between 12 to 15 million euros.
The Dyer's approach from Burnley got rejected as well. So that says to me, no defenders coming in, and there are backup, which I'm sure we'll get onto that.
We'll get onto it. Look, I think we will do some sort of business today, if I'm being honest with you. All fingers point towards Brennan Johnson, really, at Nottingham Forest. That's coming from all the big outlets, media outlets, Sky Sports, ITKs, Alistair Gold. Look, I think we'll get the Brennan Johnson deal over the line, not for 50. I think we'll get it done just below 50. Is he someone to get excited about? I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much from him to suggest that, he could come into this Tottenham Hotspur team and really, elevate us for 50 million. If that is the, fee that we're talking about, I think there were certainly loads of other targets that we missed out on, if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah, I think there will be incomings. Brennan Johnson probably being the one that I think will definitely come in. Other areas, I'd like to see a centre-back come in 100%. Dyer's not going to get a look in this team. He hasn't been in the squad for the last few games. So, yeah, I think we definitely need to do some sort of business tonight. Some sort of business.
Yeah, I think Johnson will come in. I'd be quite pleased with Conor Gallagher because that obviously gives back up to Maddison and added area. Now, I wouldn't like to see Hojberg go just simply because in January, Sarr and Basuma are off to the African Cup of Nations. Sarr for Senegal, you'd expect them to go fairly far, so you'd expect him to be out for the majority of that tournament. Basuma at Mali, 50-50, but he's going to be out for a certain amount of time anyway. And if Bentancur is brought back too early or takes longer to get match fitness up, that's essentially 3 out. So in that respect, I would prefer Hojberg not to go, even if we got Conor Gallagher. But it's a centre-back situation. There was talk after the Fulham game, which we'll get onto in a bit as well, that Van der Ven got injured in that. But looking at our fantasy football team, there was no mention of him being injured. But this is what we're reduced to now. It used to be if Kane gets injured, panic stations. Now if Romero or Van der Ven gets injured, panic stations, because it looks like Sanchez, who we'll get onto as well, he's gutsy for taking a penalty, so I've got no qualms on that. But it looks like him and Dyer are our backup centre-backs, and we've seen from last season that's I like them both as people and everything like that, but in terms of quality, they're just not good enough. And if they're our backups and we're not getting anyone else in, it's just going to be business as usual as it was last season with conceding goals. And then it's going to be up to people to share the goals of a 30-goal superstar around to not lose games. And I just cannot believe Van der Ven is the only defender, 2 if you include the goalkeeper and 3 if you include Udogie. I cannot believe that that's all we've done in that area when it was a glaring, obvious issue last season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's been no forward planning. One would imagine that if the club knew that Kane was going to leave in the summer, that, we would have had some sort of contingency plan, some sort of plan in place to say, right, we're going to use this bit of money here to buy a centre back, this bit of money here to buy a cover striker, and just a bit of planning. There's been none of that. Right now, we're at this stage where we're on the last day of transfer deadline day, and we're looking at targets that weren't mentioned even a week ago, like Brennan Johnson, Lloyd Kelly. I know Conor Gallagher was mentioned before, but I just think there's been no planning whatsoever. And just as we speak, Chris, Liverpool have rejected £150 million bid for Mohamed Salah from Al Ittihad, by the looks of it. So, yeah, I think it's so hard to do any sort of business on the last day of the window, Chris. As you saw, Van der Ven, how long did that take us?
Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks. It was ridiculous. I know we got the Maddison one over the line, but again, he was a player coming towards the end of his contract. Typical club signing where they go in for these opportunistic buys. My question is,
I don't mind it with Maddison because I think he's a quality player. He's far too good for the Championship. So in terms of that one, I was happy with that come what may. But yeah, Van der Ven, you've identified him. Get him in. Don't wait a month. Absolutely ridiculous. Completely.
I agree with you. But you've got to look at it from I'm just trying to highlight how the club operates, because if you look at, I'm using Maddison as an example, because if he had, let's say, 3 years left on his contract, Leicester would have said, mate, 60 to 65 at least. Then we'd have been talking about too expensive for Tottenham. And that is the only reason we brought him in, because A, they were relegated, B, he had a year left on his contract. Same story with Bissouma as well. We're not a club that can just go out and cherry pick, the best players from clubs. We just don't do that. Even if it's at what we think is an affordable price. Coming on to the Conor Gallagher situation, I don't think Conor Gallagher will come to Tottenham. I think he'll reject us, even if we have a bid accepted for him. But even with Conor Gallagher, if you look at the market today, especially on deadline day, you're going to be looking at 60 to 70 million easily.
Will that be because of financial fair play? And they've spent there's £1 billion since Todd Bowley came in, so that's over two transfer windows. But would it be reduced because they need to get players out and get some money back into the club?
I don't think they need to. He came on the other day against Wimbledon. He was captain of the team as well. For me, if that's someone that they're looking to get rid of, I don't think you'll be making moves like that. I think he's someone that Pochettino really admires. Do I think he'd fit into our squad? Yeah, I do. He gives us excellent, pressing. He gives us another option from midfield that can get goals, that can create goals. I think he'd be a perfect fit. Do I think he's going to come to Tottenham? I don't think so. Why he's going to leave if Pochettino, likes him and wants to use him? It's going to be no different to him whether he's going to be at Chelsea or at Tottenham. We're both out of Europe, and if I'm being honest with you, at the moment with the signings they've made, I think they could go a lot further than us in certain cup competitions and certainly maybe the league as well. Look, I just think we've left everything a bit too late here. Every position you look at, defense, midfield, up top, one injury to any of those areas from the first team, and we're looking at replacing them with what we saw on was it Tuesday, on Tuesday night against Fulham. That is a scary thought. You know, Van der Ven, one injury, who's going to come in? Sanchez? If both get injured, who's going to come in? Sanchez and Phillips? I mean, it's a scary thought, you know. And this is the frightening thing, Chris. We've loaned out players. These players are going to be back next season.
Yeah, we can't sell anyone, can we?
We are going to be in the same cycle again. We're going to be like, we need strengthening in midfield. But hold on a minute, we've got too many players. Let's loan them out again because no one's offering enough money for these players. Not enough for the chairman to, you know, bat an eyelid for. For me, I think it's now high time that we cut our losses. Bid comes in for Ndombele, anywhere between 8 to 10 million, just take it.
Yeah.
You know, if a bid comes in for Sanchez, 8 to 12 million, take it. You know, we've made the mistakes. Let's go over the mistakes. They're expensive mistakes. Same with Reguilon as well. £30 million for a left back who, you know, played under Mourinho for one season, if anything. And now he's been loaned out to Liverpool. Same with Sessegnon as well. 30 million. That's £60 million worth of left backs. Yeah. If you were to add up all the mistakes that we've made in the last 6 to 7 years, you'd be looking at anything between 500 to 600 million pounds. Let's be honest.
I mean, comment from Ryan McFarlane. How you doing, buddy? Big up, lads. How do these owners get away with doing so little for the football side? If we knew that, we'd be telling Brian Daigle and other people, and they'd be able to do a lot more than I'd be able to with the information. It comes down, Ryan, I think, to they're here to make money, not to be a successful football team, and they're making money. So therefore, in their eyes, they're successful. But what I don't understand is we've obviously got this Kane money, 86 million or whatever it is, something around that. I worry that they'll say Vicario, Maddison, Kulusevski made permanent, Porro made permanent. We knew Kane was going. That's the Kane money. Now we don't have any money, which I think is a load of nonsense with the amount of money that we make from extra football side projects. We've got the Formula One thing coming up as well. You'd expect as soon as that's opened, business to be booming on that one. And the whole Kane thing, I don't know how you felt, but if you want to go. If you want to stay. We make the decision is made at the end of July. That's a decision. And Bayern Munich, the decision is if he wants to go and you want him, the price is, and then this is the price. If you're not going to make that, end of conversation, go and speak to him in January. Left it out. And Scarlett going on loan is good, but now we're in exactly the same position as we were with Kane here. What happens if Richarlison gets injured? I'm assuming if Brennan Johnson comes in, that means Son is then extra to go up top as well. But again, it's just exactly like you say, no forward planning. But I don't think they care about that. Their forward planning is on the business side with the Formula One track, the Skywalk, or whatever it's called, and other things. I think the football is just a side project to them. And the fact that we're not sorting out any defence, whether Ange is saying, I need this, I need that, I need this, and they're just ignoring him, or he's just, you've seen him in press conferences, I'll just deal with the information I've got at hand. I can't imagine him just accepting everything and not pushing for things, but I don't know. But
I love Ange.
Ange.
Me
too.
I think he's a breath of fresh air. I think he's exactly what his club needed after, you know, the dross that we've had for 3-4 years. However, I do think that the club have been really clever about this manager who's come in, because, you know, they knew that they were open to losing Kane, but also at the same time, they knew that if Ange comes in, he plays a particular system where he doesn't heavily rely on an out-and-out striker. So for me, I wouldn't put it past this club thinking, actually, if Ange comes in, we get rid of Kane. We don't need to spend big on a number 9. You know, we can just he can use what he's got at the club, and we'll give him a couple of little signings here and there. Obviously, the creative player being Maddison, we've hit gold with Maddison, if you ask me, because I think he's fantastic. Yeah. But again, I think everything with Tottenham Hotspur is carefully orchestrated to save money, to make profit. You know, it's what it is. It is what it is. You know, you look at other clubs. You know, when they need a signing in a certain area, they'll just go out and bang. You know, we need a striker. There you go, 40 million, 50 million. We need a midfielder like Liverpool yesterday. And they knew they were short in midfield. They need some extra reinforcements there. Gravenberch, it popped up on Sky Sports News yesterday. By today, he's having his medical. You know, it's what they needed. Similar with other clubs as well. You know, they just don't mess around. We, on the other hand, where can we sort of penny pinch from? Who can we bring in that's going to balance the books for us? I think if you look at Ange, I think he's someone that they've brought in with having in mind also that he could save them a bit of money, in terms of not asking for too much and working with what he's got. He's not going to sort of beat the drum about we haven't got this and we haven't got that. So I think that, all this is being very carefully orchestrated by the club, if I'm being honest with you, even down to possibly him, making so many changes against Fulham, 9 changes. But, I'm not going to go into that. That's that one.
We will be later.
Yeah, not just yet, but I'll give you my opinions on it when you bring it up. But look, I just think it's been so underwhelming. We get rid of someone like Harry Kane, and we still have the likes of Sanchez, Dyer, Davies, who've been at the club since the early Poch days, still at the club, who should have been out the door way before Harry Kane, and yet Harry Kane's the one who has been sold off. And I think with that money, I think it's an injustice that we haven't actually gone out and use that money wisely for either a centre back or a replacement forward.
I'm not surprised anymore. I said before we came on air, I'm not that bothered about it now, but because I'm not surprised. But talking about it, I'm getting more wound up by it. But Ryan, more tough times for us fans. I feel absolutely. I mean, the only good thing is that we will be playing attacking football, so trying to win games. But you mentioned it earlier. Obviously, Fulham have beaten us in the cup, so that's one more trophy that we can't win. But were the 9 changes really necessary? I'm quite surprised at that. And that points me to this question. What is the priority this season? I think the priority still is Champions League over a trophy. The fact that we played on Saturday afternoon, we're then playing Tuesday evening. That's enough time for rest. It's not like a Sunday game and then a Wednesday game. And then we're not playing until Saturday again. So that's enough time for rest. So I could understand a few changes, but 9, I was very surprised about that. And that says to me, the priority is Champions League. Make sure in the league they're all fresh. I mean, there is an element of what Ange was talking about after the game. I've got to see if these players are ready. I'm not sure about that. I would have been picking as strong a team as you could. Try and get in front and get your noses in front and then comfortable, and then 60 minutes, then see what these players are made of. But so 2 questions really. Were the 9 changes really necessary? And do you think the 9 changes point to the answer of what our priorities are this season?
Well, let's put it into context, shall we? Are they, if what Levy or the club are asking is we want to prioritize Champions League football, therefore we want you to save our first team players for that, then yes. Not my opinion. I don't think so, but I'm saying in context of what the club want, then yes. As a fan who wants to win trophies who wants to go out there and get games done and march towards a final, then 100% no. And I'm very much in that camp. I don't think he needed any more time to know whether those players are good enough or not. There's a reason why those players, haven't started the season in the first team squad. He's had preseason, and I'm sure he's had countless amounts of video time having watched these players to know whether they're good or not. Let's be honest. We've had certain people from other media outlets, personalities who have come out and said, yes, I agree with him. How is he going to find out about his players and everything else if he doesn't give them game time? But on the flip side, and they also said, look at the likes of Joe Linton at Newcastle, Eddie Howe's got the best out of him, this, that, and the other. And my argument to that is, well, how long has Eric Dyer been there? How long has Sanchez been there? How long has Davies been there? Compared to Joe Linton, you can't make these players any better than they are at the moment. I don't care who you are. You could be Pep. You can be, Carlo Ancelotti. You are not going to make these players any better. So for me, I just can't get my head around if this is an Ange thing, how he thinks that making 9 changes is the right move, because all the noises we had prior to him taking over was that Ange doesn't like to lose and he takes all the cup competitions seriously. Yeah. So
I would say 9 changes is not taking it seriously. Yeah. So certainly against the Premier League team. If you're against a non-league team, maybe understand that, but not a Premier League team away.
We did not show Fulham any sort of respect in terms of the team that we fielded on Tuesday. I said before the game, this looks like a team that you'd put out against the League One or League Two side. And in which case you'd say, do you know what? Fair enough, because there is a golfing difference between a League One and League Two side and a Premier League side.
And it's relatively low risk as well, isn't it? With all due respect to the League One or Two side, it's relatively low risk. Where it's against the Premier League side, and not just any Premier League. This is a good Premier League side.
A team that drew to all against Arsenal with 10 men.
Yeah.
Well, it shows you that they've got character. So for me, I think it was totally the wrong move. And you have to think as well. There's a theme that's emerging. Between how many managers? Poch, Nuno, Mourinho, Conte. They all made these changes for the cups. They all made these changes. Why is it that all these managers come in and then just chop and change against all these, in all these cup competitions? Why? It can't be a coincidence, surely.
If it's to be believed, Mourinho got fired because he vested first team players in the league game for the League Cup final and then got fired. So if that is to be believed, that's obviously a rumor, then that says to me that Champions League is the priority, not the cups, by the owners. But
yeah,
whether that's to be believed or not, I mean, that's an easy thing to come out and say, isn't it?
But I mean, for me at the time, Mourinho done the right thing. We all wanted to win a cup, and he believed that the best chance we have is if we get the best 11 on the pitch for the final. And he absolutely done the right thing for all of his flaws and, all the stuff that he got wrong at Spurs. I think, that was the one thing that he got right. And if it's one thing that Mourinho knows, it's his way around finals more so, more times than not. But, I just think it's no coincidence. Obviously, we are going to prioritize Champions League more so this season than any other season, simply because the top 5 get into Champions League. Levy would have known that. I have someone that works in the club who happens to go to my gym. Even before all of this started, before Conte walked, he was telling me that they had a meeting about this season whilst last season was still going on, with Cullen, with Levy, Paratici, with everyone there, all the staff, and Levy mentioning the fact that they need to try and make more profit, and the club needs to do everything they can to get into Champions League, because we have 5 that go in there this season. So all this would have been set out from last season. by the hierarchy, and that's what they'll work towards. That's what he will want Ange Postecoglou to work towards, is that top 5 finish. And again, people say, it's on Ange, and it is on Ange. I will blame Ange for that. There's no two ways about it. But I wouldn't also rule out the hierarchy having some sort of finger in it to say, we spoke about this before. We need to prioritize the top 5. We're not really interested in the cups at the moment. Yeah. And it's no coincidence, not coincidence, but it's quite telling how Poch, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was asked about Chelsea's chances of winning silverware, and he said we are going to try to win every trophy. Cast your mind back to when he was asked about trophies at Spurs. He said trophies or cups are for egos.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really contrasting sort of opinion on the matter, if you ask me. Because on one hand,
we're starved to success, aren't we? So saying that to us, we're not going to question it. Saying that to Chelsea, who are born winners and serial winners, that ain't going to go down well with that fan base. If he says that.
Exactly. But surely the right thing to say, as fans of a club who have been starved of success, surely the number one priority will be to try and win a cup. I know it's not our God-given right to win a cup, but surely we have to give it a go. It's all part of being a successful club, right?
Yeah. It'd be very, very interesting when we get drawn in the third round of the FA Cup, wherever that is, against who, what kind of team he fields there. Because that's our only chance of a trophy this year. And obviously you need a bit of luck in terms of the draw and the games and what have you. But we obviously can't win the League Cup. There's no way we're winning the league. Obviously not in Europe. FA Cup is our only chance. So, I mean, it probably depends as well on that time. I think that's around about January that gets drawn and played, where we are in the league. If we're pushing for top 4 or 5, I mean, you might have your answer there just by that sentence. But, I'm like, I'm a fan. I want to win a cup. It doesn't matter if it's a League Cup, Champions League, English Premier League, FA Cup, whatever. I'd love to win the FA Cup just because I grew up watching the FA Cup when I was a youngster. But and the League Cup because we've won it twice and I've seen us win it twice. But it's a cup, and an Audi Cup is all fine, but it's not a real cup. But that's all we've got to look forward to these days. Nonsense pre-season tournaments.
I'm just lucky and I'm glad that I've witnessed us win 2 League Cups and an FA Cup in my time at least. At least I've seen us win 2 or 3 or 4 trophies at least. So I feel sorry for everyone else, especially the younger fans.
Like Harry Scarf, for example, who's 14, I think.
Yeah, poor Harry.
Never seen us win anything, and yet we're putting out 9 bench warmer players against the Premier League team and going straight out of a cup. I mean, is there an element that it was a weakened team and we did hang in there? And said we hung in there. I mean, there is an element of that, I suppose. But at the end of the day, for me, it shouldn't have been about hanging in there. We're playing attacking football now. It's complete chalk and cheese for the first 3 games. We should have been going there and trying to win the game and taking it to them, and then resting the players and seeing these second string players. But is there any element for you of positivity that we hung in there against a good Premiership team?
We shouldn't have to be in that situation where we hung in there with a second string team, because for me it's an excuse, isn't it? Oh, it was a second string team, we hung in there. No, you get the job done. You put the first team out, or you make, I don't know, 3 or 4 changes is acceptable in my opinion. You want to, let's say, change the goalkeeper, change someone up top, play a different winger. But for me, you go out there, you put your best 11 or the best players onto the pitch, get the job done, and you take them off. It's as simple as that. We've got 5 substitutions at the end of the day. That's more than enough to take all your key players off. If you play Maddison and Bissouma at least with one other of the fringe players in midfield, acceptable. As soon as you get the job done, Maddison comes off second half. Bissouma comes off if need be. I think it was the right decision in the end to sort of play Richarlison because he's trying to keep his confidence up. But again, he didn't cover himself in glory despite getting the goal. I think he was very, very poor.
Do you think his goal will give him a boost now? I mean, getting a goal and not getting a goal, it must give you some kind of confidence. But he's trying to do too much for me a little bit in terms of against Man United. I was at that game. His hold-up play, certainly second half, I thought was far, far better than it was against Brentford. Against who did we play last? We beat Bournemouth. It was okay, and then he's trod on the ball, and then it just seemed like he completely lost the ability to play football. But again, it goes to my previous point. There's not really anyone else.
But did it give him confidence scoring a goal in the biggest stage in football against Marseille? I mean, he scored a couple of goals in the Champions League in biggest stage in world football. That wasn't enough to give him confidence. So, scoring against Fulham, who eventually beat us, I'm not so sure. Look, no matter how you put it, I just don't think he's a good footballer. I think he's one of the worst strikers we've seen at the club in a very long time. His hold-up play isn't great. His first touch isn't great. His positioning is so-so, but questionable. Is he playing in the right position? I don't know. I think when he was at Everton, he was mostly playing on the left wing, which he had the most joy from. I just don't think he's a great footballer for us, if I'm being honest.
Is that because we've been blessed to have probably the best for how many seasons before?
No, I don't think it's got anything to do with that, Chris. If you're a good player, it doesn't matter who you come in for. If you're a good player, you're a good player. You come in and you do a job. If someone comes in at £60 million with a price tag like that, you'd expect them to get the basics right at least. With Richarlison, I haven't seen that. His attitude, for me as well, is absolutely, he's got a terrible attitude as well. You saw how petulant he was.
Yeah.
Against Bournemouth, he almost got himself sent off. I just think it's another expensive mistake. £60 million for Richarlison. I just think, wow. I mean, we've really had our pants pulled down there. I think because of his price tag and the value, or how much we paid for him, I think now we are sort of trying to justify that price tag by continuing with him and persisting that he might come good. Because if this one fails as well, we've had Ndombele and Richarlison for a combined £120 million wasted. And that is the problem. That is the problem. If he come in for 10, 15 million, let's say even 30 million at half price, you'd think to yourself, okay, cool. You're not really cutting the mustard. We're going to put you up for sale. We'll take something between 20 to 30, but 60 million. I mean, you tell me, is there any club out there that would pay £40 million for Richarlison? Let alone, forget about 50, 60, 40 million.
Yeah.
Maybe, aside from the Arabian League, maybe. But look, and that's another question. If an Arab side from the Saudi League, put a bid in, 40 million, 45 million, would you take it?
Well, I wouldn't take it just in a case of we don't have anyone else. Again, the lack of play at this moment in time. Obviously, there's still time in the transfer window, but we're not linked with any strikers. I think it will be Tony, looking to Tony in January to come in. But again, he's going to be so match unfit because he hasn't played for 8 months or whatever it would have been. Quality striker, but he's going to take time to get used to everything. But yeah, I wouldn't sell Richarlison. I'd stick with him just simply because with the personnel that we've got, we don't really have a choice. Dane Scarlett could have been another Kane in the sense that he's going to be hungry, young, forcing players out. But then the difference is that he's had one loan deal, whereas Kane, when he came in, had at least 3 by then.
But why?
And it's just forward planning, like you say. Dane Scarlett should have been loaned out for the last 2 seasons, not 1.
But why haven't we kept Scarlett for this season? Because,
yeah,
look, Ange obviously likes him. Okay. I know we've got a young forward in Valise who I don't know what's going on with his work permit, but surely we need more homegrown players. Rather than loaning him out, we could have loaned someone else out in his place, and he could have been the backup striker to come in, when things weren't going right. Why have we loaned him out of all the players that we have?
Yeah.
He's been loaned out like three seasons now. He's just
I
signed.
thought it was just last season. I thought it was Portsmouth last season and Ipswich this season.
No, I think he was loaned out previous season as well.
Okay.
But
I quite liked him. His goal against Shakhtar showed that he knows where the goal is. Isn't afraid to have a pop.
Brilliant goal. Brilliant goal.
Quick, strong. So a different type of striker, and could very much use that. But again, it's forward playing, like you're saying, and it's basically Richarlison and Son, I guess, unless this Feliz guy is coming in. But I'm sure Ange said that he probably won't play that much this season because he's got to learn the English game and everything like that. So that's obviously one for the future. So it's Richarlison and Son for me up top. You're not going to replace Kane. Even if you get Haaland, you get a completely different striker. The only similarities would be both of them score an absolute hatful if you give them chances. But yeah, not using any of the money for Kane to buy a striker of some description is just crazy. It's crazy. Mark Cousins says, big up Chris and Haas. Have we signed anyone yet? Don't be so daft. What a ridiculous comment. We haven't, Mark. Whether we will, I'm not sure. And Roast Masterard, the coach is a fool to the negative power of 9. Very interesting. Very interesting. One thing that did come out of the game, and Sanchez has the guts to take a penalty. There are far more attacking players on the pitch at that point who didn't take a penalty. I'm glad to see that there was no abuse of Sanchez for taking the penalty and missing it on Twitter or anything. We all saw what happened to Saka after the Euros and the abuse that him, Rashford, Sancho got. Glad to see there was none on Sanchez. We've seen the best. Even Harry Kane's missed penalties before. Sanchez had guts to take them. Should never have been taking one. Obviously, Maddison took one afterwards, so you'd expect that. Why was he taking one? And I'm not sure who took the penalties, to be honest. I don't think Kulusevski did. I'm not sure Hojberg did. You've got to have leaders. Maddison is a leader, so therefore he was always going to take a penalty. Son took the first one, didn't he? So you'd expect that. Not sure the others. But why was he taking the penalty? A fair play to him for standing up and saying, I'll take a penalty. Fair play for that.
I can't blame anyone who steps forward to take a penalty. At the end of the day, I think it was widely mentioned that no one else put themselves forward or they didn't want to take a penalty. So he stepped up. You can't blame him for stepping up and taking a penalty. It takes guts to do it, especially with, our Fulham hold talks with Tottenham over signing midfielder Pierre-Emile Hojberg.
Yeah,
that's on Sky Sports News as well at the moment.
Yeah, so that was there before we came on here. That I was watching Sky Sports.
Yeah,
is going to Bayern.
Yeah, I'm not going to lay the blame on Davies and Sanchez for the reason that we're out of the League Cup now. He didn't pick himself to start the game. He elected to take a penalty when others didn't step up. So I'll give him props for that. But this guy, we should just put him out of his misery now and just take whatever we get for him. If it's Rennes or whoever it is that comes in for him and he wants to go, just take the money. For the sake of £4 million extra. I think his time here has been torrid. He probably had one good season when he come over, and the rest of it has just been absolutely shocking. So, this has got like Levy sort of written all over it. Just trying to squeeze whatever he can out of the deal. So, I understand. £42 million at the time, he was our record signing, but look, it's just not worked out. And this is where we are so different to other clubs. Other top 6 clubs will cut their losses and move on. They'll find other targets, they'll bring them in, and then the risk and reward of it all is, that you bring someone else in who does better, you could end up winning a trophy. You could end up, finishing top 4, whatever it is. We just try to rinse and repeat with the same players every season with different managers.
Yeah.
It just, it's the Tottenham way, isn't it? Let's be honest. I don't agree with it, and I don't accept it, and I never will. But there are people out there who will sympathise and say, you know what, the club need to balance the books. The club need to do this. The club need to do that. Well, the club wouldn't need to do all that stuff if it was run with any sort of plan in mind, But we are where we are at the end of the day now. We move, and we try and, we'll try and see how far we can get with this 11 before any injuries or suspensions come in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worry, but...
The only good thing is that, we've got one game a week.
Yeah.
That's our only saving grace, so to speak. But we are really going to need to ride our luck with injuries, and I think subs will need to play a massive part in that as well. We will need to be, I mean, against especially the smaller sides, we'll need to finish them off by half time or early second half, and then take off the best players to save them for the next game. So I think that's going to be crucial if we're not signing any other players.
Yeah, I mean, balancing the books is a fair point if we didn't have all these extra footballing activities making money, which we do have. So in terms of balancing the books, we're making an absolute fortune on gigs, boxing, NFL, the Formula One, the Skywalk. I mean, the fact that he can give himself £500,000 pay rise means we're not doing too badly financially. But it's all about how much money he can get in his pocket, I think, and the footballing. So I think he's been an okay chairman in the sense that business-wise, he's been very good. He's made us a much, much better, bigger team. We're not going to be worried about going in the red anymore. But then on the other side, you have to take care of the footballing side. And in that respect, he's been horrendous. Certainly recently, in the last few years, obviously the Van der Vaart signing was very good, and he has bought some players, but it's
always been opportunistic, though, Chris. Even the Van der Vaart deal, Real Madrid didn't want him at the club, and we stepped in and paid £8 million or whatever it was, and we brought him to the club. It was a no risk signing that turned out to be an amazing signing. Okay, for me, Van der Vaart was brilliant. I mean, he's one of the best Dutch players I've seen in modern day football. But again, it was another opportunistic signing. Sorry. We just, like I said, we don't go out and say, I don't know, let's say, I'll give you an example of like Brighton or someone. We don't go out and say, right, we want a Mitoma. How much do you want for him? 50? There you go. We'll have him. We don't go out to, Fulham. Palhinha. We want him. 50? There you go. We don't buy other players, star players or best players. We don't do that. Unless there's an opportunity there and it's opportunistic, So, look, again, I just wanted to put this out there as well. £100 million that we've received or whatever it is from the Harry Kane money. And we haven't sort of really spent any of it since then. No. And it just makes me wonder, we're out of Europe this season. Obviously, there is a loss of revenue there from not being in Europe. Part of me, with this hierarchy, part of me thinks they've hit a jackpot because they can now take some of that money and compensate for the fact that we're not getting extra revenue from European football. Yeah. I firmly believe that. There's no way I'm going to prove it, but I wouldn't put it past them. No. What have we done with that money so far? Even if that money, right, was used to pay off loan signings like Kulusevski, like Porro, and even if you broke even, paid it all off, surely we'd still have money to buy players.
Yeah.
Because we're starting from an even footing now, right? So you can sign players. But then again, it's getting the other players out of the door. That's the problem. We just have too many players.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ange has already said, hasn't he, that some of these players just aren't going to play. Certainly the European players, you'd be expecting them to try and be proactively finding new clubs because of the Euros that are coming up. Players like Region, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, he's gone, so bad example. Yeah, it doesn't really matter to him because well, I'm not playing in the Euros. I'm Argentinian, but
yeah,
players like Eric Dyer, who wants to presumably get back into the England squad. Well, if Harry Maguire's there, he's got a chance, hasn't he? But for his point of view, in
Harry
his mind, I want
Maguire
to get back into the England squad. So if you were Eric Dyer, you'd want to be playing football and give yourself a chance. But
Harry Maguire must have something over Southgate. It's got to be the.
I mean, how Jared Bowen cannot get in and James Ward-Prowse and Jared Bowen's goal at the weekend. How that wasn't talked about on Match of the Day, because the pass and the run was bloody good, but the touch and the finish in one stride was sensational.
Oh yeah,
if that was Bergkamp, when he did it, they were talking about that all the time. They just mentioned it in passing on Match of the Day, and I hate West Ham, but that deserved a lot more airtime, that goal, because that was a sensational goal. And how James Ward-Prowse, who started on fire at West Ham, cannot get into that squad. Calvin Phillips is in, who never plays. Jordan Henderson, who's playing in a pub league. It's just yeah. So if they can get in,
was Jordan Henderson?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
That is absolutely insane. Just a quick one for you, though.
In that respect, Eric Dyer must think, well, I'm playing in a competitive league, so if I play well, I can get into this team. So I don't understand why he's not trying to clubs come in for me, and trying to force his way out. But
look, I just think any deal that takes place tonight, it's going to happen last minute. It's literally going to be last minute, because there doesn't seem to be anything going on at the moment. Yeah. We now have, I believe, just under 10 hours to go for the transfer window to shut.
We'll be messing around with Brennan Johnson for the
next messing around with Brennan Johnson. For all we know, they could turn around and say, no, actually, we don't want to sell now. Yeah. Where does that leave us then?
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
By the way, I think that the Hojberg deal is going to go through, because I can't see Fulham allowing someone like Palhinha to leave on the last day without replacing him. I think it's a far inferior replacement, but then again, they need someone there, right, with a bit of Premiership experience.
Well, I guess if that is going through and they know it's going through, then we can then, if we're serious about Conor Gallagher, then talk seriously about that. But I'm with you. I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll say, I don't want to leave. And Hojberg out, Sarr and Basuma out for the African Cup of Nations.
We've got to hope that comes back.
Yeah, and slots right back in and doesn't get another injury. But our best transfer period was early Poch. It was cheap and probably opportunistic again, with Dele Alli, who was fairly cheap, Alderweireld, who was fairly cheap, Wanyama, who was fairly cheap. But we had a scouting network that worked with the manager, Pochettino, at that point. Pochettino said, I need a player who does this. They went out and said, this player does that. Let's go get him. They were relatively cheap, and we got our success there. Now we're just buying players for the sake of it. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
Burnley at the weekend. I don't think they've picked up a win yet, but they're going to, and they're at home so they're going to at some point, and they're at home. We will, I'm pretty sure, play our top team. So we'll go straight into this, how will the game pan out, and predictions. But the predictions can also be the first team. I think it'll be the first team that started against Bournemouth. I know you're not a fan of Richarlison, so would you start that first team again, or would you replace Richarlison, and who with? I think it changes point to the fact that it'll be the same team that started against Bournemouth for me.
Yeah, I think we'll need to go with the same first team again. I do think he's going to start with Richarlison once again. I can't see Ange dropping him, especially after he got a goal against Fulham as well. For me, he was terrible. Ange would know that as well from what he's seen. But listen, who else have we got at the moment?
Yeah.
So I think he'll field that same strong first 11 going forward tomorrow against Burnley. You can just see it's the Spursiness, of it all, is that Burnley haven't won a game yet. They're playing in front of their home crowd. It'll be a great occasion for them. And you can just see them getting some sort of result against us. I just hope our heads haven't dropped after Tuesday.
I don't think they will, because it will be the heads dropping of players that aren't going to be playing against.
look, if we play to our full capabilities and there is a genuine shift in the culture at the club, then I think we could possibly go tomorrow and get a decent win, 2 or 3-0. But
this is their third home game in a row. Obviously, Man City, you ain't going to get a result there. Aston Villa 3-1. I think Aston Villa could be a dark horse for this top 5 now. But they did beat Forest 1-0 in the cup away from home on Wednesday. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a physical game. Burnley are going to be pushing us around and everything like that. So it's where your Romeros would love that. I'm not sure about Van der Ven. Dog is strong as well. Kulusevski, I think, will start because he's strong. Basuma, Sarr, I don't think you disrupt that at all. And then hope that Maddison can get some space to be able to do what Maddison does. Hopefully Udogie is okay. He was on the bench against Fulham, so I'm assuming after his knock against Bournemouth, he's fine there. But how do you think the game will pan out? I think it will be a bit of a bitty game. Burnley will try and make it difficult for us, stop Maddison getting the ball and be very physical. But if we can get on the ball, get Maddison on the ball, the communication for me is starting to grow there with Richarlison, Son, Kulusevski, and the fullbacks when Maddison gets the ball, making the runs, him threading it through. So that's only going to get better, but obviously needs a bit of time. But I think if we can get on the ball, we can win. But if we sit off and are too passive, I think Burnley will fancy their chances. The longer it's 0-0 or if Burnley get in front, the fans are just going to be super loud. The job as the away team is to shut those fans up early doors. And you do that by creating chances or scoring a goal. So I think, again, how many times we said it depends which Tottenham turn up. But how will the game pan out for you and what would be your prediction?
Yeah, I just think Burnley will look to cut the supply line in terms of the ball. The ball getting to Maddison, close him down. That's our creativity sort of reduced significantly. But I think we need to do something a little bit different sometimes. We can't just play the same way. I think we have to utilize the wingers as well. Get forward with the wingers, take your man on, get a cross in here and there. I think they are going to look to get in behind our fullbacks, our left wing back and our right wing back, to try and create one-on-ones with the defenders. But I just think we need to try something different, maybe. But it's worked so far. It's worked so far for us the way we've been playing. But I just think in this league, it's easy for other teams to sort of suss you out and the way you play and to play against it. So they would have done their homework against us. They'll know how we play. But, we just got to play to our strengths, get Maddison on the ball as much as we can. You've got the likes of Basuma and Sarr who can create stuff as well. Look, there's with that first 11, there's creativity, everywhere on the pitch, but mostly from Maddison, obviously.
Yeah.
I just want to see more from the wingers, Kulusevski. I want to see Kulusevski taking his man on, running it to the byline, getting a cross in. Same with Son as well. I don't want no, balls being cut back, trying to find space here and there.
What I've noticed with Kulusevski is he has started mixing it up a little bit. Obviously, he cuts inside on his left a lot, but he is going on the outside, trying to use his right foot as well, which that will help with the variety in his game. Hopefully, the goal, which was a lovely finish, lovely run, will do him the world of good confidence-wise. So I wouldn't be dropping him. Son, he's too good a player, I think, to be that terrible again. And there was times when Maddison was playing him through and he was on his bike, similar to when Kane got the ball and turned, he was on his bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. Get them on the ball, try and get them to do stuff. And with Maddison against Bournemouth, he came deep to get the ball, whereas Man United, he was further forward. So I think if he is being stifled out of the game, he's clever enough. And Ange has shown he's clever enough in that tactical side to switch it up a little bit, get him involved.
Well, I think last game, Maddison was pushed further back on purpose by Ange because he was the outlet because we like to play out from the back. And let's be honest, he's got the most ability on the ball to play out of tight situations. So it's no surprise that he was pushed back into almost that deep line playmaker role where we was playing the ball out and getting the ball to him from a deep position. he was then pinging a ball through to Son or Kulusevski or to another runner from the middle. So I think that was a deliberate ploy from Ange for that game. Whether he'll do the same thing against Burnley, I don't know, but they will look to press us as well. I don't know if you've seen Burnley play under Company, but they do like to attack, press, win the ball. So it's going to come down to a matter of quality. I think at the end of the day, I think we've got more quality than them? Oh yeah, 100%. First team's got 10 times more quality than Burnley, but it might, for them, it will come to heart and desire. How much do you want it? How much are you willing to fight for it? We've all seen the videos with Company when he's been in the changing room with his players. He will absolutely demand 101% from each and every one of them. So it's not going to be an easy game. They want to win their first home game or first game of the season, especially at home. It's not a gimme. Honestly, a lot of people look at Burnley and think, yeah, for me, it's not a gimme. It's going to be a tough game. I think we'll nick it.
Yeah,
I think we'll nick it. It won't be an easy game, but I think we'll nick it by a goal.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if a team wins it if there's more than one goal in it, and I could easily see it being a draw. But I think it all depends on how we get Maddison on the ball and how we approach the game. Because if they want it more than us, they'll win that game.
Yeah,
and their fans will see that they want it more, and then the fans will force them over the line. But yeah, it remains to be seen. But it'll be the first 11 again. It's just a shame that we're out of the cup and we've only got one trophy to play for because we haven't winning this league. But
I mean, if we find Brennan Johnson, right? Does he come in straight away for you?
Well, he either replaces Son, Kulu, or Richarlison. So I could see him coming in for Son and Son being put up in terms of Richarlison making way. But in terms of if Richarlison plays, I don't see him coming straight in because I don't think he's dropping Son or Kulu.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he'll be in the squad, to be honest.
I think he'll be in the squad because I think if you make a signing like that, he has to be in the squad. But yeah,
well, we'll see. But yeah, look, so much to do. I just wish we had another cover at centre back.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, all are for two centre backs.
Well, Romero or Van der Ven are going to get injured or sent off at some point.
Yeah,
and a straight red in a league is 3 games. So and being that we're out of it's 3 English games, and being that we're out of the League Cup, that will be Premier League games, and that's a lot of games in the Premier League to have a Dyer or a Sanchez in there. But remains to be seen. But let's hope we can beat Burnley, get back on track, and then the Cup game will kind of be forgotten to an extent, and we can move on. But pleasure having you on, Hass. Always a pleasure having you on. Chris. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and putting the comments in as well. Really appreciate that. If you haven't done so already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Jump over to Chris's Magic as well if you like a bit of magic, amateur magic, I'd say. 1 trick a week or a tutorial every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. UK time. And get over put my teeth back in. Get yourself over to A View from the South Stand. That's Hass's channel, along with Marlon as well, who's been on there a few times as well. Lovely bloke as well. What can people expect on your show going forward?
Yeah, so obviously it's deadline day today. Myself and Ashmatic, who's also part of our show, of the team, will be on a show with me tonight for the deadline day special. I think we are going live at 9:30 tonight on Southview's COYS on YouTube. So make sure you tune in tonight for that. That's going to be great. It's not only going to be Tottenham Hotspur, but we'll bring analysis from other signings that other clubs have made as well. So we'll be looking at all that. And things like who's sort of made the best signings and things like that. So going forward from that, we've got the reaction show tomorrow after the Burnley game in the evening, around about 7:30. That will be by Haz from Hotspur TV. And also every Tuesday, we have an analysis show with Ashmatic and Marlon, where we assess certain players, pool of players, which Ash shows videos and does a full analysis on players. It's really good, really intuitive, and I'd recommend you tune in.
Yeah, excellent. It's a brilliant channel. I've been lucky to be on there a few times. A brilliant channel. Really, really good channel. So get yourself over there for the transfer deadline day show today at 9:30.
Yes, please. Yeah,
and make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell on that channel as well. Do the same for Let's Talk Tottenham and Chris's Magic. We'll be back on Monday for the Monday Night Fan Zone, hopefully celebrating a win and back to winning ways. We will see. And yeah, let's hope that we've got some new signings to talk about, and Platt and Deadwood have been made way. But if you ask me now, I'm not particularly confident on that, I'm afraid. But we will see. There is time left. But yeah, have a good weekend. See you on Monday. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Thanks so much for watching. For everybody who joined in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, please hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification every time we're about to go live, and it's all completely free. For those who missed the live show, you can catch this whenever you want on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel. Please also hit the like, subscribe and notification bell, and everybody please leave feedback, comments, suggestions in the comments section on the YouTube videos. For those of you who listen to the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio podcast, you can pick that up wherever you get your podcast from. We're back Mondays 7:30pm UK time and Fridays 12:30pm UK time. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter at @LTalkTottenham, Instagram, Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast, you can find all the information there. Anyone who wants something a little bit different, also do a magic show. So I do one trick a week, which drops Wednesday, 7:30pm UK time. Chris's Magic on YouTube is where you'll find that. But in the meantime,